The video, Adolescents of Chymera, 2021, is a drama inspired by a true story about Roy, a young artist who is court-ordered to live in a strict group home called Chymera House. The film explores themes of survival, identity, and resilience as Roy navigates the challenges of military-style discipline, forbidden love, and earning the respect of his peers. Key events and themes in the video include: Introduction to Chymera House. Roy is introduced to the house rules, including chores and the authority of the discipline monitor, Daryl. He quickly experiences the strictness and power dynamics within the home. The initiation. Roy undergoes an initiation process. A large dinner where residents ask tough questions to new members to see if they fit into the family. This includes a challenging exercise where Roy is asked to describe himself, both outwardly and inwardly, while facing a mirror. AA meeting and drug use. The residents participate in an AA meeting where they discuss their experiences with drugs and why they stopped using. Some express cynical views about the program. A plan for acid. Steve devises a plan to smuggle acid into the house using a pigeon. Roy's relationship with Laura. Roy develops a close relationship with Laura, another resident, and seeks help to spend time with her alone, which is against the rules. Their secret relationship is later discovered by Daryl through one of Roy's drawings. Consequences and rules. The film highlights the strict rules and consequences within Chymera House, including room restrictions and total house safety measures when contraband is found. Laura's struggles. Laura reveals her past of self-harming as a compulsion to punish herself. She is also told she will be graduating soon, which she is scared about, leading to a disturbing hypnosis attempt by Daryl to make her comply. Plans to escape. Faced with Daryl's strictness and Laura's impending, unwanted graduation, Roy and Laura decide to run away from Chymera House together. The image-breaking process, as explained in the video, is likened to what happens in military boot camps. Its purpose is to break down a recruit's old civilian image and replace it with that of a soldier. In Chymera House, the staff uses this concept to help residents face up to who you are before we can change what doesn't work. Roy learns that being a DM is not as simple as he might have initially thought, and that the authority he is given comes with challenges. When he tries to enforce the rules, other residents actively resist him. Resistance to chores. Roy attempts to assign chores, but the other residents immediately come up with excuses and refuse to comply. This shows him that simply having authority doesn't guarantee compliance. Challenges to authority. Min, for example, directly challenges Roy's authority, refusing to do chores and implying that Roy isn't capable of being a DM. This forces Roy to confront how to deal with insubordination. The power of manipulation. Roy learns that he can use leverage, like threatening to show Daryl Min's masterpiece to get others to do their chores. This indicates he's learning to navigate the power dynamics within the house, even if it's through less than ideal means. Essentially, Roy learns that the DM role is more complex than just barking orders. It requires understanding the social dynamics and finding ways to assert control in a challenging environment. Daryl uses fear as a primary tool to maintain control and enforce the rules within Chymera House. His methods are often intimidating and designed to make residents compliant. Threat of the hall. Daryl frequently threatens to send residents to the hall, which is implied to be a solitary confinement or a worse form of punishment. This threat immediately silences dissent and forces compliance, as seen when Roy is told to go to his room after questioning Daryl's authority. Intimidation and strictness. Daryl's general demeanor is stern and unyielding. He demands immediate obedience and uses a condescending tone, as seen when he inspects chores and tells residents to do it over, making them fear his disapproval. Consequences for non-compliance. He has a list of bookings and consequences for any perceived transgression, from disrespecting peer authority to foul language. This creates an environment where residents are constantly wary of breaking rules for fear of retribution. Image breaking and confrontation. During the initiation, Daryl puts Roy on the spot, forcing him to confront his inner self in front of everyone. This public vulnerability and pressure can be a terrifying experience designed to break down a resident's defenses and make them more susceptible to the program's influence. Confiscation of personal items. Daryl confiscates Roy's drawings, which are clearly very important to Roy. This act demonstrates Daryl's power to remove personal comforts and further isolate residents, instilling fear of losing their individuality. Forced compliance with graduation. Daryl's attempt to hypnotize Laura into accepting her unwanted graduation is a severe form of psychological manipulation. He ignores her distress and actively tries to force her into a state of acceptance, which can be deeply frightening and disempowering. Random searches and total house safety. Daryl's unannounced searches and implementation of Total House Safety (THS) mean that residents are constantly under surveillance and can have their privacy invaded at any moment. This creates an atmosphere of constant anxiety and fear of being caught with contraband. Daryl enforces rules through a combination of strict discipline, constant surveillance, and the immediate application of consequences. Here's a breakdown of his methods. Verbal intimidation and direct orders. Daryl uses a commanding and often intimidating tone. He gives direct orders and expects immediate compliance, as seen when he tells residents to get back to work, or when he orders Roy to go to your room. Bookings and consequences. He maintains a system of bookings for various infractions, such as disrespecting peer authority, failure to follow staff direction, and foul language. These bookings lead to immediate consequences, often involving additional chores or restrictions. For instance, when Kesha gets bad news about her son, she is still expected to agree to retribution in the form of chores. Peer authority and accountability. Daryl delegates authority to discipline monitors (DM), like Daryl and later Roy. This creates a peer-on-peer enforcement system, where residents are expected to hold each other accountable. Further internalizing the rules. Strict chore enforcement. Chores are a significant part of the daily routine, and Daryl is very particular about their completion. He inspects the work and demands that things sparkle, indicating a high standard that must be met. If not met, residents are forced to do it over. Confiscation of contraband. Daryl actively searches rooms and confiscates contraband, as seen when he takes Roy's drawings and when he announces a list of seized items. This reinforces the idea that personal belongings and activities are subject to oversight. Restriction and isolation. When rules are broken, Daryl imposes restriction, which limits a resident's movement and interaction. He also threatens to send residents to the hall, implying a form of isolation for serious offenses. Psychological pressure and image breaking. Daryl uses psychological tactics, such as the image breaking exercise during initiation, to break down a resident's perceived identity and make them more amenable to the program's structure. His attempt to hypnotize Laura into accepting her graduation also demonstrates his willingness to use manipulative psychological methods. Constant surveillance and Total House Safety (THS). Daryl implements Total House Safety (THS) when serious rule violations occur, meaning constant oversight and limited freedom for all residents. This creates an atmosphere where residents are aware they are always being watched. Roy was resistant to the rules and environment of Chymera House for several key reasons throughout the video. Disagreement with the rules and authority, from early on. Roy questions the strictness and perceived unfairness of the rules. He finds the disciplinary actions of the DM flipped up and argues that he shouldn't need permission to sit in the backyard. Refusal to falsely admit guilt. During a booking session, Roy states he didn't do anything wrong and refuses to say I'm guilty when I'm not. He sees the system as a joke. Desire to leave. Roy openly expresses his dislike for the place and his wish to get the heck out of here. He feels he is being treated like a 2-year-old and sees Daryl as power-tripping. Resistance during initiation. He finds the initiation process, particularly the personal questions about his family, to be boring and doesn't want to play anymore. Challenges as DM. When Roy is made DM, he faces resistance from other residents who refuse to do chores, further highlighting the inherent difficulties and perhaps unfairness of the system he is now meant to enforce. He also directly confronts Min, who refuses his orders. Rejection of the program's ideology. He expresses his disbelief in the program's ability to genuinely help, particularly after the meeting. Questioning if anyone truly cares about being locked up or the consequences. Forbidden relationship with Laura. Roy's strong feelings for Laura lead him to break the cardinal rule against relationships. He actively seeks ways to spend time with her alone and later defends her when she is attacked. Directly defying Daryl's warnings. Decision to run away. Ultimately, his frustration with the rules, his forced separation from Laura, and Laura's unwanted graduation lead him to suggest they get the heck out of here, choosing outright defiance over compliance. Lucky gets a new job working on cars. He mentions he has a lot of experience from stealing them, which prompts Daryl to warn him not to blow it. His new job is described as his big break. Laura fears graduating because she feels unready to leave Chymera House and face the outside world. She expresses a desire to stay a few more months. Her anxiety is so profound that she becomes distraught and resistant when Daryl attempts to use a manipulative tactic to make her accept her graduation. This suggests a deep-seated fear of what lies beyond the structured environment of the house, especially considering her past struggles with self-harm. Daryl manipulates Laura primarily by ignoring her expressed fears and attempting to psychologically coerce her into accepting her unwanted graduation. Specifically, when Laura states she is not ready and wants to stay a few more months, Daryl dismisses her feelings by saying she's just anxious and that everyone gets nervous. He then explicitly tries to make her relax by using a hypnotic-like technique with a swinging chain and repetitive commands. He tells her she will graduate and everything will be just fine, overriding her clear protests and distress. This is a direct attempt to control her thoughts and emotions to fit his agenda, rather than addressing her genuine concerns. Daryl's strictness appears to stem from his military background and his belief that discipline and rules are essential for reforming the residents. As explained by another resident, Daryl was reportedly a real screw-up until he joined the army. There, he learned about rules, discipline, and stuff like that, which helped him get his act together. He seemingly believes that this same approach will work for the residents of Chymera House, implying that his strict methods are intended to help them get their lives in order. Roy's core struggle in the film revolves around his resistance to authority and his difficulty conforming to the strict rules and emotional demands of Chymera House. Key instances that highlight this struggle include initial defiance and refusal to accept guilt. From the moment he arrives, Roy questions the rules, especially when he feels unfairly treated or booked for infractions he believes he didn't commit. He refuses to say he's guilty when I'm not. Challenges during initiation. During his initiation, he struggles with the image-breaking exercise, finding it hard to describe his inner self and bristling at personal questions. He states, "I don't want to play anymore." Inability to follow peer authority. When he becomes the DM, discipline monitor, he struggles to enforce rules on his peers, who openly defy him. This indicates his own discomfort with exercising the same kind of authority he resists. Desire for freedom and escape. He repeatedly expresses a strong desire to get the flip out of here, and ultimately plans to run away with Laura. This shows his deep aversion to the confined, controlled environment and his longing for autonomy. In essence, Roy struggles with surrendering his individuality and personal sense of justice to a system that demands absolute conformity and emotional transparency, even if he perceives it as unfair or intrusive.